Welcome to Inside Carbondale. This is the podcast that brings you the latest information about projects and events going on in Carbondale. I'm Amy Fox, the city's public relations officer, and I'm joined by City Manager Gary Williams and Carbondale Mayor John Mike Henry. Thanks, both of you, for joining me this morning.
Glad to be here. Good morning.
Today we are talking about the city's new brand, which was unveiled at the State of the City address just last week. And first off, why brand the city of Carbondale?
Well, I think it's important to show that we are a progressive city. We've had our beloved logo and brand for many, many years, but we need to be in this century and show that we're progressing and going forward. We also wanted to have something that showed the diversity of the community, talked about the Shawnee National Forest, how close we are, and what a great outdoors we have down here. And all this comes out of wanting to help our great university come back and restore enrollment out there.
And walk me through some of the steps that the city took for this branding project. It's been a long time coming.
Well, we started out that I appointed a committee, which included myself, Jeff Doherty on the city council, Amy Fox, the city manager, Gary Williams, and Lee Fronnenberger in the beginning, and Les Odell from the Chamber of Commerce. So the idea was to get a representation of the community on board, particularly within the city, and deal with a branding company, which we let bids on that. We had 2 respondents, and we picked one company to represent us. The big difference with that company and the other one was that the company we settled with does a lot of research about how we're viewed, from how our citizens view us, and then how our near neighbors view us, and then how people as far away as Metro East, Cape Girardeau, and Paducah view the city. And that's a really incredibly useful piece of information to find out what people think about Carbondale. So again, it's aimed at lifting up Carbondale's image. We just came through the eclipse, and we had exposure all over the country from that. We want to look like we're moving forward, we're progressive, we're an open, welcoming community. And again, the fundamental thing is to just update where we are and support the university.
The total cost of this project was $98,000, which when you first hear that, it sounds like an awful lot of money being spent on a brand. And a lot of people don't really understand what a brand is. What did the $98,000 include?
Well, the $98,000, Amy, was for comprehensive branding services. It was for marketing study. There was a lot of research that went into this project, as the mayor alluded to, and that totaled over half of the total budget of $98,000. We interviewed 660 people throughout the region. We interviewed community leaders and key stakeholders from Bloomington Normal, from Cape Girardeau, from Paducah, throughout Southern Illinois to gauge perceptions about Carbondale. And when that was complete, we were given a 243-page document that has all this research, all these findings in it, and all that research and data will help drive all of our future marketing efforts, tourism, among other things. So there's a lot of value in just the research component to that. In addition, there are a number of other deliverables, a dozen deliverables that will include a billboard design, banner designs that we can put throughout the community. We will have an economic development packet, something we've never had before. So when we meet prospects, business people that may come to Carbondale, we'll have a really nice package that speaks about our community that looks very professional. We will also have one for development services, so it's something we can give to realtors, for people to SIH, SIU, folks that have relocation departments that work with folks, new employees that come to Carbondale. Business cards. There's a number of other marketing deliverables we have included as well. And finally, the logo itself, which was about 5% of the overall $98,000 cost.
And one thing I do want to point out is the public was a part of this entire process There were press releases and news stories and things on our website. We actually had a educational microsite, branding carbondaleil.com, which informed the community about this project. So the community was really never blindsided. I mean, this came before council on February 14th for the approval of the contract, and then also the committee came before the council right after the eclipse. I believe it was August 29th, to approve this brand DNA to begin the creative process. So throughout this 8 to 10 month process, the community has really played an integral part of this overall project. It wasn't like we didn't involve the community at all.
Well, exactly. And our consultants were hoping for, in our community-wide survey, they were hoping to get 300, and they felt that was a stretch for our size community. We actually had over 600 people who filled out surveys and gave us their thoughts about Carbondale and helped guide us along the way.
And what did the city learn from Northstar's findings? I mean, there was a lot of extensive research done, but what were maybe the top 3 things that all of the research was very consistent in?
One thing that was really encouraging, and I think the eclipse reinforced this, is that we make a good impression to people if we can get them to Carbondale. Over 98% of the people that responded to the survey said that those that weren't familiar with our community or may have had whatever the perception is about it, it improved after they came to Carbondale. That's a positive. One of the negative things that we found throughout the data was that many of our influencers, there was an influencer slide that was presented to us, and many of our influencers are those folks that are in the know, that really have they have a lot of influence on how the city's perceived. They have a lot of power when it comes to help marketing the city. The perceptions weren't that good. And so one of the things that Northstar pointed out to us was that there's a small faction of folks in the city that don't present the best message about Carbondale, and it's frankly it's diminishing our brand, and which speaks to the challenges of branding, but also speaks to the importance of doing this comprehensive, inclusive process that's regional.
Once you had the brand DNA, what were some of the next steps that you took?
Well, the next steps were to come up with a tagline, which is called a strap line. I learned in this process now, and it was a really neat process. We sat around that table and teleconferenced in with our consultants, and people worked very hard. We had a lot of varying opinions around the table, which was good. But it also reinforced the idea of holding this sort of tight to a committee of the representative of our community, because we do have so many varied opinions. And we worked hard, and we voted, and we re-voted, and we came up with that strap line. And then as we went through the creative process, we looked at probably a dozen or more logos. And worked on them and asked the folks to make changes and change the colors. And it was really, really a great process to witness, but we had a lot of input, a lot of work, probably 40 hours roughly in these committee meetings where we finally came up with what we wanted to have and what we presented to the public.
So the final strap line, always open. It's 3 words. What exactly does that mean? Because there's been a lot of misunderstandings out there about what that line really means. So if you could set the record straight on that.
Well, sure. And, if you put it into 2 words, it's always open. And that can apply to our business community. It can apply to the university. But in the 3-word version, always open, means that people have an opportunity in Carbondale to pursue their life endeavors. There are multiple pathways in Carbondale to do what you want to do. And one of them, of course, is pursuing any one of a great number of degrees at this great university we have here. The other is it's a great place to retire. We're a bike-friendly city. That's another ways, or roads and pathways. That's another thing. We're also a diverse community and a welcoming community, which we have acted on to express that to everyone around us. So we ended up with all ways open. And again, this was another thing that took quite a while to get to this. And I think as people get more acclimated to it, more familiar with it, they'll understand it a little bit better. But we certainly want folks to know what the process was and how we got there.
And there's a great logo that accompanies this strap line. And if you haven't seen it, I would strongly recommend logging on social media or even the city's website to take a look at it. On the top, you have maroon, which is actually the Pantone from Southern Illinois University. So we took the exact same maroon color. And then on the bottom, there is a green. And if you could just explain the design and why those colors.
Well, you know, the design itself is the crossroads. We're at the crossroads of Southern Illinois, literally, Route 13 and U.S. Route 51. We're also at the Eclipse Crossroads, so there's a little bump back in there that could theoretically be the sun. We've had our eclipse this past year to great success that put us on the map across the country. We'll do the same thing in 7 years. So we're at the Eclipse Crossroads of the United States also. And incidentally, we've had calls from several outlying communities that will be involved in this next eclipse that weren't in the first that are wanting to come visit us to see what we did because they followed us and thought we did a great job. So, and then we ended up with the green and maroon. You know, some of the pathways thing is the all ways open is hiking in the Shawnee National Forest. One of the things that occurred to me a few months ago was that is such a great resource that we have here in Southern Illinois that no other university community in Illinois has, is access to this great Shawnee National Forest, Giant City State Park, Little Grand Canyon, all these wonderful outdoors facilities, which we're finding that a lot of our students come from metro areas and they really, really like to be engaged in the outdoors. And of course our wine trails. So the green is a nod to the great outdoors that we're surrounded by.
Obviously, you're really happy with the way the process has went and continues to go, but also happy with the finished result. But anytime you begin implementing change, there tends to be mixed emotions from the community. And in the last several days, that's really what the city's been experiencing is lots of attention and discussion on social media outlets such as Facebook, and a lot of people are unhappy with this new design or they don't understand it, they don't like the strap line. What would be your message to those folks who maybe have reservations about the decision that the city made for this particular brand?
Well, this is sort of the usual reaction, knee-jerk sort of reaction to things in Carbondale. I don't have much room in my consideration for folks who haven't been a part of the process and just instantly start criticizing things. We're trying to let folks know the reasoning behind it. What we're hearing from is some of that, which we alluded to earlier, this very vocal, small minority that, and you know, one of my favorite sayings is some people are just naturally never happy. So I feel personally that we did an excellent job and that we have a great product here. And I think as we start rolling this out, it's going to be made available to our other public entities, such as our school systems, our library, the park district. They don't have to drop their logos, but they can use this logo again as part of their correspondence and on their brochures and things. So it's a way to tie all of Carbondale together also. And we'll be fine. We get through the social media, whatever you call the social media. I hardly ever go on Facebook myself, but you know, there's a lot that goes on there, and some of it is just sort of knee-jerk reaction. And by and large, we're getting lots and lots of compliments on it. And I've met with various groups over the weekend as part of my mayor thing with holiday groups, and I haven't found anyone who said they just hated the logo. Some of them asked for an explanation of it, explained it to them. But most logos need explanation.
Right.
So,
and one thing I do want to point out too is, with all the options for logos, this tended to be one of the more abstract designs, meaning that there's more than one interpretation. And if you want to think negatively, go ahead and think negatively. But our intent was to make this a positive design, one that represents not only City Hall, but the rest of the community as well.
Well, absolutely. And we want to look like a progressive community. We want to move forward. And all of that with our downtown revitalization, everything that's going on there, the university is revamping itself. It's time for us all to get together and be positive and move forward.
And in addition to key stakeholders hopefully adopting this brand, the consultants are also providing the city with a long list of deliverables, custom designed deliverables that we can begin to use in different ways.
Yeah, that's correct, Amy. And that's part of this overall strategy, this rebranding strategy to pull all the elements together that the mayor was talking about. And the real value of this long term is you see more traffic and you see more sales and you see more people driven to your community. Many of the communities that Northstar has worked in have seen very quantifiable returns by doing an effective rebranding strategy. And some of those, just real quick, Montrose, Colorado, 23% increase in their website inquiries. Brookings, South Dakota, 101% increase in their monthly website traffic. Dublin, Ohio, 54% increase in monthly website traffic. Columbus, Indiana, architectural town, 19%, over 19% growth in tour sales income. So, again, the whole point of this, doing this regionally and to have a community-wide brand, was that we can market our entire community the same way. We can be very strategic about what we're doing and drive more people to Carbondale.
We have developed a list of frequently asked questions that will be published on the city's website. That's explorecarbondale.com. So if you have more questions, would like more information about this process, you can access those on our website, explorecarbondale.com. Also, those will be made available on social media. And as always, people are more than welcome to stop by City Hall, ask questions, the mayor, city manager, myself. We're happy to kind of guide you along this process and let you know how we got to this point. Our whole intent was to make the community aware and involved in this process. Is there anything else you guys would like to add? Anything we forgot? I know we covered quite a bit today.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing it in print and getting it out on our T-shirts and all that kind of thing, which we'll be doing over the next 3 to 6 months or so, and finding out how our other entities in Carbondale are going to use it. So I'm really excited about it. I think we have a good logo, and we're going to move forward.
All right. Thank you both for joining me, and we hope all of you will join us for another episode of Inside Carbondale. Have a great day. If you have feedback or have ideas for future podcasts, feel free to email me at afox@explorecarbondale.com.